Hey everyone, this is Joey G with Touch of the Brush Model Weathering, and welcome to the Bell Community Branch update number 5, how we create simple scenery, part 1. And here we have an abandoned track that used to be part of the branch line at one time. In the background there is a, looks like a tunnel, but there's going to be an old trestle that I weathered and graffitied, and it's going to go above that, so it's going to look like the main line goes above the branch line. And here we're going to use some Anita's acrylics, including some gray, white, brown, earth brown, all flat, and black. And we're going to go into the ties here, and we're going to paint the ties here to make them look a little abandoned or old and hasn't been touched in a long time, including the rails. And with the rails, you can use brown and black paint, or you can use the gouache watercolors, and that's really good too because you can dab it on top of the rails. It looks nice and rusty, and the colors you will use, like I showed in the past with doing rust, you can use the burnt sienna and the yellow ochre and raw umber. Those colors work really well. And you want to get into the ties here and the sides of the rail. The actual branch line itself needs to be weathered. That track needs to be weathered. I am using Atlas Code 83 track, and that old track that we're painting, the way you get the track to look like a lot of ties have been missing, you will break off every 1 or every 2 ties, and you can use them to fill in other places, or for a pile or something, use it for something else in the layout. And then you stretch them out. You stretch out the ties after you break them up, and you stretch them along the rails, and then you bend the rails. It tightens up a bit, and then that's how it looks like ties that have been stretched out or missing, or it looks like an older trackage, either for a spur or industry lead, or here like a branch line. The branch line, I try to keep it like it's well maintained, but some of the industries that I have look like they need to be replaced. And on those sides, I will have maybe rails and some ties that, like here, that broken off. Use those ties on the side of the track. Looks like it has to be replaced. And we're going here using some of that brown and a little bit of black. And right now we're using some of that gray and white mix, so it lights up the gray. And the gray makes the ties look weathered, like they're old and faded. The creosote's not there anymore, and it works out really well. And mixing some of that gray in there, and then go along the track, and just like how we made the backdrops, you do it while the rail is wet. And here I was using some of that black, and I got some black on the backdrop. Now remember, with the backdrop, I used some semi-gloss paint, which works fairly well, and you can see that paint was cleaned off right away. And that's because it's semi-gloss, and it hasn't really been. If you're using flat paint, you would really have a tough time getting that off. So now we're getting to simple scenery work, and we're using some regular Elmer's glue. This is actually glue I bought off Amazon, and for $6 with free shipping. I mean, huge jug of it. And you wet the paintbrush, and you stretch out that glue. It won't paint well if you don't stretch it out. And actually here, I forgot to put water on the paintbrush. And you can see here, there's this whole pause because I went to get that water. And there's the water. Now you see how it stretches out tenfold. And you actually don't waste any of that glue that way as well. And now you want to seal the paint on that track, and also for using scenery. And there we have grounded up leaves, and we're going to sprinkle those leaves all over that glue. And that's when you want to start some of your scenery work, while that glue is still wet. You can sprinkle that on, and that's a great undercoat and great base. Now I'm using blended turf from Woodland Scenics, and looks like a little bit of burnt grass, dry grass, has a little green in it. It's blended, and it gives a nice touch. You could go back with flowers based and different kinds of foliage, or that's good for autumn, the fall, and season, as well as some spring. You add some more green if you want spring and summer. And going here on the other side of the track. Now this is part 1, so we're not going into full scenery. This is just base scenery to get you started, and it's a great way to have some scenery for a little diorama if you want to show off your models. And we can take some of that paint and we're going into that wood. And remember, with that this backdrop, in the backdrop update, you know, a lot of it you're not going to see. And so here we're taking some of that polyfiber that I made for other dioramas for the NMRA gateway clinics, taking some of that off, and I'm putting glue down and posting it against the backdrop. And there will be some super trees and other stuff in front of these bushes. It's just some background, and it's really, really simple. And polyfiber is great, and I will do a video how to make polyfiber trees. I have done it about 5-6 years ago, but I will make a new one for this layout. And we just squish them right in there. And you know, you can use Woodland Scenics, or actually Scenic Express has some coarse or even like actual leaves. And I forgot what it's called. I'm having a brain fart right now, but use those. Oh man, they look so great. And here I'm actually using some medium turf foliage, green turf rather, and sprinkling it on there. And I wanted to do fall or early spring, so I may do early spring here on this layout, and use some of that blended turf to highlight some of those leaves. And so here is the finished product, or for what we got right now, and that's all I did. That's all you had there. And you can see with the train in front of it, it looks nice, you know. And it's all about perspective. The more scenery you have in front of it, in front of your models, the more you can do photography and rail fanning on your layout. So guys, thank you so much for watching. This is Joe with G with Touch of the Brush Model Weathering. I appreciate everybody joining me for this journey on this layout, and I hope everybody enjoys working on their layouts and the dioramas. You guys be safe out there with all this weather, and we'll talk again for the next update. Happy model railroading, guys.